Welcome to the Evolve Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. This podcast is a new little project I'm starting up to just kind of, bring people on and just kind of talk, go have a heart to heart conversation about, anxiety, depression, mental health, and so on. So today I got my buddy Mario on here today. We're going to talk a little bit about how he has overcome his anxiety, his past, and his testimony, and just the little things that help him through it all. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. So I want you to tell me a little bit about your anxiety and the little things that help you overcome it, and just kind of your life story in general.
Um, so anxiety was kind of a big deal in my family. It ran through my family um, for many years, starting with my grandmother, and it was passed on to my mother, and passed on to me and my brother and one of my sisters, and it was just a huge deal. Like, I mean, some days you wake up feeling like you're having a heart attack, and you feel like you can't breathe at all. And basically gasping for breath, and it's just, I mean, it's completely a stronghold in the mind that basically consumes your life and can lead you to so many bad things, bad decision making, because it's
Hmm.
just driven to do some crazy things just to take your mind off of that anxiety,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
leads into depression.
Now, one thing I
But
noticed with me is I tend to, when my anxiety hit me, it's weird. Like I kind of feel what you're saying too. It's like you you just feel that impulse. Your heart just start beating out your chest. You can't breathe. You just don't know what to do, right? And then you start,
right,
either bringing yourself down or you feel like you have to do certain things to kind of forget about it. And at the end of the day, I feel like those things usually just kind of enhance it in a way. It just kind of enhance that fun away, which kind of makes it worse. So, what's one way what are different ways of you've tried kind of like coping with it, figuring out a way to kind of like resolve those issues and kind of having that solution, that one thing that helps you kind of calm yourself down, relax, and just kind of meditate a little bit.
well, over the years, I tried so many different things, like certain meditations, and just music was my first kind of outlet to it.
Mm.
And but during this time, I was testing so many different things, like anxiety medicine that I was not prescribed, and I was abusing it to where it just made me feel numb all the time. But as soon as I would get sober, I would go straight back into the mindset of
Mm.
that worried, worried mindset, just very doubtful and constantly picking and choosing for things that basically tormented my mind. It was just kind of like almost an addiction to think about the things that worried me.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've been there
But
too, man. Like instead of medication, I just kind of pray about it. You know what I mean? I just kind of
yeah,
find a way, to bring God into say, hey, I don't need the medication because all it does is just numbs. It just numbs me for like a few hours, and then I'm right back to where I was. So I just kind of bring God, into it, doing reading my devotions, and just kind of figuring out who I am and how I'm going to, control this anxiety moving forward.
exactly. And yeah, I had to get to the point where I tried almost everything to get rid of it, and I lost faith in everything, and lost faith in my own self to get rid of it.
Hmm.
And that moment when I started giving up on that, I started relying on God. And when I really got deep into prayer and really growing my relationship with God, I've noticed an experience of overwhelming peace hitting me at times. It wasn't always constant. It was momentary because my thoughts would, they were so trained to have anxiety. So it would go back to anxiety over and over again. So it really is almost a training process in your mentality with God. And
Hmm.
I mean, the root, what I've learned from it, the root of all anxiety and worries is
Hmm.
not trusting God's plan in your life
Oh yeah.
whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was living in a time where I was abusing many drugs, constantly. And that alone, too, was bringing anxiety into my life because once I started leading away from the drugs, I was worried about my health and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, and like, it was a mix of that. And I just felt like there was nothing taking care of me in this life. And it felt like all of the burden was on me. It felt like it was only me in control of my life. And that's what brought the most anxiety to me, was the thought that I was in control fully and that it had to be everything. Everything was up to me. And until I really started praying to God and really getting into the Word of God and just meditating on His Word and just staying in quietness, trying to absolutely drown out every voice in my head and focus on this loving thought.
Mm-hmm.
And those loving thoughts, they become more clear as time goes on, because, I mean, the Bible is nothing but love in it.
Yeah.
And so you start recognizing the good thoughts from the bad thoughts and drown out those other bad thoughts. But what I was saying before was, so all of the disciples that Jesus brought with him, all of them were such sinners. They were people who made so many mistakes, like some of them were drunkards, some of them even killed other Christians who believed in Jesus Christ. And some of them were prostitutes, some of them were tax collectors, and you got to think those people definitely felt extreme anxiety and extreme worry in their lives because they were still lost and they thought they were in control of their lives. So, I mean, the Son of God walking up to someone and just saying, I love you, and just actually showing that love and feeling Him love you inside and out, that right there is an anxiety relief. And if I tell people to this day, if you really want to get away from your anxiety, you have to grow your relationship with the Father in heaven and His only Son, because once you feel that love, that's the only thing that matters to you anymore. That's the only thing that satisfies you. So when you go out in the world, you're not expecting everything to satisfy you. You're expecting these worldly things to fail you all the time. But you know your worth is not in those things in this world. Your worth is in the Father in heaven. And that's basically just how I got rid of my anxiety completely. And I haven't felt it for so long. I couldn't tell you the last time I felt anxiety. I mean, it's okay to be, it's normal to be anxious, and it's normal to have stress.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Choice. Yeah, it's our choice to lead us into anxiety where we're sitting there having a panic attack and freaking out about it. But the stress part, that's normal. It never said in the Bible that we were going to have it. It states pretty clearly that we're going to go through trials, and what that makes us do is lose faith in ourselves, and we put faith in God alone. When we do that, He's perfect in every way. He never fails us. Only we can fail ourselves, and only the worldly things can fail us.
Yep, and I definitely agree with that, because I know when I went to college, my freshman year, that's kind of when I kind of became separate from God, and my anxiety really kicked in, man. I thought I could do all this on my own and whatnot, and I was making a lot of bad decisions. And one day I just woke up and it just hit me hard, and I just kind of snapped myself back into reality. I was like, man, what am I doing in my life? I'm here to build my future, and I'm just wasting all these money, thousands of dollars, just making all these bad decisions. So I felt like it was time to really, snap out of it and focus. And that's kind of when I started doing the whole music thing, because to me, I feel like music is my way of blowing off the steam, expressing how I feel, and what's going on in my head. Because I can take anything negative in my head and just put it in the music and put my whole heart into the music. And by the time I'm done working on it, I'm good. And that's I feel like, I feel like that's where, God got me started with this whole journey. It was like He just kind of had to bring me back to my senses and just tell me to focus. And once I did that, it's just been, there's been time where I fall off and then I come back. But for the past 3 years now, I've been on the right. After I got saved, I've been on the right track all the way. And to me, it's just been an amazing feeling because there's just so much I've been through, and I'm just trying to always figure out why is God putting me through all these trials. So every time I go through a lesson, let's call it a lesson. I go through a lesson like back in college. No, I was just going through so much. I'm just asking God, why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense, you know. And then I kind of just
Yeah,
sat down and reflect, and I was like, I need answers. I don't know what my purpose is. Like you're putting me through all this trial, but I don't know what path you have me on. Where am I going? So from there, I just feel like,
okay.
yeah. So from there, I was just like, God does everything for a reason. So I just kind of took that path and just kept going until this point now, which now I'm still able to control my anxiety better. You see my work on, Instagram and all that stuff, my music. You've listened to my album that I put out recently called Stronger, and I
Yeah,
just focus all that energy in my work, something that helps me fight against it. And I feel like after doing that, it just kind of opens my eye to a lot of things. So now every time that something hits me or just a thought hit me or something negative hit me, I always pray and say, God, I don't know where you're taking me. I don't know where I'm headed, but I trust your plan, right? This is another lesson and I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to take it and I'm going to embrace it. And I feel like for me, that's my way of, getting over the anxiety and all that stuff is just by embracing the moment and just knowing that God is working behind the scenes. You might not understand it yet, it might not make sense, but once you keep
right.
going, eventually you'll understand why he put you through those trials and error. It's just to open your eyes to the road to see that, to show you actually show yourself what you're capable of in this life, in this world.
Right. And I think something that people have struggle with understanding, and it's something that I struggle with all the time, is that we're only human and we can only see so much. And
Mm-hmm.
some people get caught up. Some people get caught up in that and think that, well, that's our limit forever, and that's not our limit. If we can be born once, we can be born again. And I think that's another reason why people experience anxiety and depression is because they feel like this life is the only life that they have. And that can get sad because I've been there before, and I've I've been led close, not led, but I've been driven close to committing suicide. I used to own an AR-15 rifle, and I used to hold that in myself, thinking whether or not to take it or pull the trigger. And many times it just got caught in my mind with how I could do to the other people that I love. And during this time, I didn't even have God in my life at all, and I started really abusing the drugs really bad, sort of like speed and stuff like that. And there was a night where I was on speed, and I ended up smoking along with that. So I had basically like a whatever you call like an upper and a downer too,
Mm-hmm.
and that together can cause so many problems with your heart. And as I'm sitting there with one of my old friends, and I started experiencing my heart racing extremely fast. And this was not anxiety. It was real, like what was happening. My liver started hurting. And I was in the car, and my heart started racing even more and more. Um, I couldn't get words out. And one of the signs of like going into cardiac arrest or about to have a heart attack is you kind of lose your voice a little bit trying to speak. You lose your breath.
Mm-hmm.
Can't breathe right. And my heart was beating so fast I couldn't even count how many times it was beating. And I rushed to the hospital, and my heart rate was up to 190, 200
Wow.
beats per minute. Yeah, and they gave me medication that they give to heart attack patients, and they basically told me that I wouldn't have still been there if it wasn't for coming to the hospital. But on the way to the hospital for the first time in years, I just remember this distinct moment. I just remember saying to God, I'm sorry for what I've done. Please give me another chance.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, even though my heart was racing and I was hurting so bad in my chest and couldn't breathe, I just felt an overwhelming peace hit me, and it relaxed me through it. but yet I knew something was still wrong, but it took away my anxiety out of that moment. And after that night that happened and being in the hospital all night, my life started changing slowly but surely. And as time went on, it started getting more rapid and rapid. But I couldn't get rid of this guilt feeling for what I did and how angry I was at God before, thinking that it was all his fault for certain things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it led me to find love in God, and the only way that I could find that was through his son in the gospel and why he died for us, the true reason why he died for us. And when it led me to that, I started seeing like more crazy miracles. My prayers were being answered like crazy. And I mean, like literally some prayers were answered the next day. And I just, over time, like I started feeling this overwhelming love inside my heart. And it felt like I was a kid again. Like, you know how it feels being a young, or, I don't know, I have certain memories from being a toddler. You're always happy. You're up running around.
Oh, yeah.
And you just have so much love in your heart.
Yeah, it's just that feeling, man. It's just knowing that God is there when you need him. Now, nowadays, I used to get angry, but nowadays it's just like, okay, something, something's going wrong here. I don't know what it is, but I trust you. I trust you. Just lead me. I don't know your plans, but I know you're working on me. So just keep on leading me. And just to kind of reflect off of that, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I just had so much going on, and I was about to move into my new place, and I had all these goals I wanted to accomplish. Like, I was ready for 2020, man. And I don't know what happened. I just woke up one morning, and I was just depressed out of my mind. I've never hit rock bottom like this before, ever. Usually my positivity drowns my negativity. But it just brought me down so much to the point where I'm like, I can't hold all this in. I have to take my own advice and reach out to somebody or someone or people and just ask for prayer, And when I did that, I just felt free, man. I felt free. And then as the day progresses, I kept praying. I kept, all the God, I don't know why this anxiety is hitting me hard. It's never hit me hard like this. I don't know what you're trying to teach me here, but it's kind of scary. And I don't want to feel this way right now. And I just prayed and prayed and prayed. And I just kind of saw the signs of him working, And then after that, I'm just like, I try to, usually when it hit me like that, I try to write a song. I sat there, I got my pen and paper, and I couldn't write anything. I didn't even know how I felt. I was just lost. I didn't know what was going on in my head. So I just it was just bad, man. And then I just took a little step back, and I kind of discovered that I've worked myself to the point where my exhaustion and my body was just like shutting down. I just kept going and going. I felt like, okay, I became a robot. I feel like that was God's way of showing me, hey, you need to slow down. Your business is not going nowhere. Your passion is not going nowhere. You need to slow down, take care of yourself, balance everything out, and I'll keep, guiding you in the right direction. And I just kind of I understood it that way. And that's just kind of how I took it. I took a little break. I didn't work for a whole week, and I was good. And then recently, I put out a poem. I used to do poetry way back. I think like when I was in middle school. I haven't done poetry in so long. And I just sat down and I was like, I don't understand where I'm headed, but I trust you. And I sat down and I put on some music, some like just slow music. And I started writing this poem. I was like, before I write this poem, I want you to speak to me because this is a letter to myself. I need to, unlock that side of me that's going to bring me back to reality. You know what I mean? Right. And you heard the poem. You read it. It's called Dear Me, and it's a letter to myself. And it's a whole series I'm trying to do now. So I have a couple more coming, but I haven't released them yet. I'm trying to time them perfectly to where as I evolve throughout, life, I put out this poem continuing, that, relationship I'm building with myself, learning to, take better care of myself and just kind of evolve throughout life.
Right.
Now, I didn't know it was going to be that deep, but when I put it down, I was watching it back. I'm like, man, even though I wrote it, when I watch it back, it still brings me back to where I want to be. If I'm losing myself and I just play that, poetry to myself. It still brings me back to where I have to be, and I just keep it moving. But yeah, like before we wrap up here, I have one last question for you. What is your advice to someone battling anxiety right now and that is trying hard to overcome it? Because I know a lot of people aren't religious, and if they're not religious, what is your advice to them? How can they, fight and just kind of go through it all and still embrace that moment and learn from it and not let it bring them down?
I would say for the ones, don't use advice for the ones who aren't religious, who don't really necessarily have a belief in God, and the ones who do have a belief in God. For the people who don't have a belief in God, first of all, I've been there before. I used to not believe in God. I used to not believe in Jesus, and I was very far away from it and never wanted anything to do with it. So my advice to you is just start really focusing on yourself and just learn more about yourself, learn about who you are, where you came from, and the mistakes that you've made, and ask yourself where are you going later in life and where are you going after, and really put yourself in that mentality. And it's going to be scary thinking about what's going to happen after this life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point of it. You got to make yourself think that. You got to kind of train yourself to think that, because then it really makes you rely on God and not your own self. And my advice to you is don't feel pressured by people to be pushed into the word right away or anything. You have to find God on your own, because y'all love absolutely so deeply, no matter what, no matter our mistakes. And he's never going to give up trying to come after you and find you. And he wants you to come to him. And he has a plan for you. You might not know it now, but you will find him one day, and you will find an overwhelming peace with him through his son, Jesus. And I mean that with all my heart, because I've been there before with not having any belief in God. And for the ones who do believe in God, still struggle with anxiety and depression, slow down. You need to get alone. You need to get in the Word, and you need to pray to him and grow an intimate relationship with him. Grow your own understanding with him, because I know you probably hear a lot of pastors and a lot of people talk about him, and you kind of gain an understanding of their understanding, which that's awesome. That could be more of an understanding of him. But it's a whole different level of intimacy when you gain your own understanding on your own time with him, and just sit there and enjoy his presence. Just really acknowledge him in prayer and meditate on his word. And never rush yourself into anything. Don't make yourself too busy all the time where you don't have time for him, because truly what he just wants to be with you, because he loves you that much, and he enjoys his time with you just as much as you enjoy his time with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we do get anxiety. That's why people still do get anxiety when they believe in God, because they forget that really their peace comes from God, and we get that alone time with him constantly, and stay in constant communion with him all day long in our thoughts and on our own time in prayer. It truly just takes you to a whole new level of relief, and it takes your anxiety away. And that right there alone, gaining an understanding of him and his wisdom, that right there will give you so much more trust in him. Naturally, your anxiety will flee away.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. And like I said, for me, it's the same. Like the prayer really helps. There's really a power in prayer. You pray and you just leave the rest with God, and it'll come. And one of my main favorite quote that I like to say is, "You're not the best, but always do your best and give God the rest." And I've lived by that,
Right.
ever since I've given myself to God. And just gonna say, hey, I'm here to serve you. Use me the best way you can, and just let me spread that positivity that you build up in me to others that need to hear it and and see it through my actions.
Right.
All right, so yeah,
And
man.
it's Hey, I got one more thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And another one of the things that I struggled with becoming a believer in Jesus Christ and the Father in heaven, I struggled with really thinking that I had to do all these things to gain His love, and that's not the truth. It's not about what we do; it's about what Jesus has already done for us. And because of that, we have worth in Him. Our worth is not in ourselves. And that's why it says in the Word of God, to not be prideful, to not be judgmental towards others, because our worth is not in ourselves. We hold our worth in Jesus, and He is the one who can completely take away every single word, every single anxiety, and He is the only way, the truth, to it all.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you so much for coming on, man. This is the first episode, man. This was really good conversation, and there's a lot that we went into, and I just hope that everyone that made it this far, I hope you got something out of it. I hope help you guys overcome your anxiety. If you have any questions, just DM me if you want to get on here and talk about your anxiety as well, and you're comfortable enough to just go deep into details about how you've overcame it, or just little topics like that. I want to hear your story. I want to hear your story, and your story will change other people's life. And my goal with this whole podcast is to make a difference. I want to change lives, and I want you to spread positivity throughout the world. Wherever it gets to, I want it to help them. I will see you guys next week.